for our band. And it's quotes from famous people. And some of them are anonymous. If I don't say somebody after it's over, then they're anonymous. Okay? The first one is one of my favorites. A man who wants to lead a band must turn his back to the crowd. And then Bill Cosby. I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody. Donald Kendall, chairman of Pepsi Cola. The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. So seniors, remember that. Ralph Waldo Emerson, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. Robert Schuller, most people who succeed in the face of seemingly impossible conditions are people who simply don't know how to quit. George Bernard Shaw, success does not... Okay, now it does. Success does not consist in never making mistakes, but in never making the same mistake a second time. A person that is successful has simply formed the habit of doing things that unsuccessful people will not do. When you're through improving, you're through. This is one of my favorites. You'll never be a leader unless you first learn to follow and be led. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Abraham Lincoln. You cannot push anyone up the ladder unless he is willing to climb a little. Andrew Carnegie. Ability may get you to the top, but it takes character to keep you there. This is one of my favorites, and the band will appreciate this one too. Learn to say no to the good so you can say yes to the best. What is the enemy of great, man? Good. Good. Exactly. And then Winston Churchill, this might be my favorite. The nose of the bulldog has been slanted backwards so that he can breathe without letting go. That means when he bites you, he's going to hang on. In case you didn't hear that one. I've used this one before. I don't know if I've used it with anybody among these students. The seniors may have heard this one, but this is an interesting one, and it's funny, but yet it kind of makes you think a little bit. An explanation of life. This is an explanation of life, where you'll know what it's all about. On the first day, God created the dog and said, "Sit all day by the door of your house and bark at anyone who comes in or walks past. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 20 years. The dog said, that's a long time to be barking. How about only 10 years and I'll give you back the other 10? So God agreed. On the second day, God created the monkey. He told the monkey, entertain people, do tricks, and make them laugh. For this, I'll give you a 20-year lifespan. The monkey said, monkey tricks for 20 years? That's a pretty long time to perform. How about I give you back 10 like the dog did? God agreed. On the third day, God created the cow and said, you must go into the field with the farmer all day long, suffer under the sun, have calves, and give milk to support the farmer's family. For this, I will give you a lifespan of 60 years. And the cow said, that's kind of a tough life. You want me to live for 60 years? How about 20 and I'll give you back the other 40? God agreed. On the fourth day, God created man and said, eat, sleep, play, marry, and enjoy life. For this, I'll give you 20 years. But the man said, only 20 years? Could you possibly give me my 20, the 40 the cow gave back, the 10 the monkey gave back, and the 10 the dog gave back? That makes 80, okay? Okay, said God, you asked for it. So that is why for our first 20 years we eat, sleep, play, and enjoy ourselves. For the next 40 years, we slave in the sun to support our family. For the next 10 years, we do monkey tricks to entertain our grandchildren. And for the last 10 years, we sit on the front porch and bark at everyone. And you know, I know this, the older I get to bark a little bit more too. I've got one more, and it's directed to all the students, but it's mainly directed to the seniors as you step out. And it's a funny story too, but it's got a great moral to it. And you need to really listen. But when you think about it, and it makes sense, you parents are going to be going, when I get through, okay? A wealthy young lady decides to go on a photo safari in Africa, taking her faithful, aged poodle named Cuddles along for company. One day the poodle starts chasing butterflies, and before long, Cuddles discovered she's lost. Wondering about, she notices a leopard rapidly heading in her direction with the intention of having lunch. The old poodle thinks, oh no, I'm in big trouble now. I can't outrun that leopard. So noticing some bones on the ground close by, she immediately settles down to chew on the bones with her back to the approaching cat. Just as the leopard is about to leap, the old poodle exclaims loudly, boy, that was one delicious leopard. I wonder if there are any more around here. Upon hearing this, the young leopard halts attack in mid-strike. A look of terror comes over him, and he slinks away into the trees. Woo, he said. That was close. That old poodle really had me. Meanwhile, a monkey who had been watching the whole scene from a nearby tree figures he can put this knowledge to good use and trade it in for protection from the leopard. So off he goes, but the old poodle sees the monkey heading off after the leopard with great speed and figures something must be up. The monkey soon catches up with the leopard, spills the beans, and strikes a deal for himself with the leopard. Well, the young leopard is furious at being made a fool of and says, here, monkey, hop on my back and see what's going to happen to that conniving canine. Now, the old poodle sees the leopard coming with the monkey on his back and thinks, what am I going to do now? But instead of running, the dog sits down with her back to her attackers, pretending she hasn't seen him yet. And just when they get close enough to hear, the old poodle says, where's that crazy monkey? I sent him off an hour ago to bring me another leopard. The moral of the story, don't mess with old pros. Age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill. Knowledge and brilliance only come with age and experience. Remember that.
Yeah, yes.
Remember that when you get out there in the world seeing it. Just a few moments to talk about our accomplishments this year as a band as a whole before we get to individual things. I'm sure most of you saw our marching band show this year. I thought it was a great show. I thought it wound up being one of my favorites in all my 31 years of teaching. As you very well know, we went to Gunnersville and marched. That was the only contest we got to go to. When we got there, there was nobody in our class, but we made all ones in all categories: band, color guard, dance line, percussion, drum major. And they gave the grand champion, which is the best band of all the bands of the day, and of course Clay Toffel won the grand champion award. So that was we got a trophy about as tall as I am, I think. But anyway, that was just a highlight for our marching band. Our concert band just was, and it's hard for me to say this because I used to be the assistant band director, used to be the concert band director, but it was probably the best overall concert band we've had since Clay Toffel started in 1996. And so how can we say that? When the school opened in 1996, my best friend was the first band director here. And you know, the students that were coming to Clay Chapel, of course, had been going to Hewitt Trustful, and they were woefully behind when they got here. Mr. Doc Thompson did a 2-week band camp that year in June. And he called me and he said, Mr. Wallace, Randall, he said, I need you, man, I gotta have you. And he said, I hate to ask you to give up your June, but he said, I need you. So even though I wasn't here the first year of the school, I was at the very first rehearsal that the Clay Chapel band ever had. So I have been here since the start. And then the second year I came on as Mr. Thompson's assistant. And I can assure you, there was not a concert band the first year. There was only one symphonic band. So there's only been 3 concert band directors. That's myself, Mr. David Brewer, Mr. Williams. So I know what I'm talking about. But the concert band this year is the first concert band to make it through MPA, Music Performance Assessment, since we started that, which is our state contest, and the first band to get through state contest since 2006. So I'm just thrilled for them. And concert band members, Mr. Williams, you might want to come help me here. I don't know how to tell you this, come around this way. They receive a medal for superior rating at MPA. So concert band members, come find around here. While they're filing around, I'll go ahead and brag on the symphonic band. The symphonic band also made superior ratings at MPA, Music Performance Assessment. But the symphonic band has done something unique this year. At assessment, you have 7 categories for 4 levels, so you have 28 areas to make A's in. If you make more A's than B's, you get a 1. If you make more B's and a lot of C's, you get a 2. And we're going to talk about what happens if you get C's and D's. But if you get all 1s and all A's, the state board, Alabama Bandmaster Association, grants you 1s with distinction. This was the 4th year in a row that the symphonic band has made 1s with distinction. All A's 4 years in a row. This year at the high school level, there were only 7 symphonic bands, high school bands, that made 1s with distinction. 7. And 3 of them were from Jefferson County Board of Education, our district. So almost 50%. And that includes your Hoovers, your Mountain Brooks, all the mountain schools in Jefferson County. So it was really prestigious this year for them to do that. If y'all would like to follow up, pick up your medals and find me. Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize our students. Just about every major university in the country nowadays has an honor band. University of Alabama, Auburn University, Montevallo, UAB, Troy, Alabama State, South Alabama, University of North Alabama, West Alabama, Lee in Cleveland, Tennessee, one, Mississippi State. We've had students go there, Southern Mississippi and Hattiesburg. We've had students down there. We've had students go to honor bands all over the Southeast in the years past. I'm going to recognize them later on, but I'd like for any student who participated in a college honor band or a horn, they have instrument days, they'll have trumpet clinics or anything like that, to please stand at this time if you can. College honor. Okay, then we have a district honor band, which our district is Shelby and Jefferson counties. If you think about those two counties, that is one district in Alabama. That is District 4. For instance, District 2 is Northeast Alabama. There's 14 counties in District 2. District 3 is Northwest Alabama. There's 16 counties in District 3. Now, District 4 is 2 counties. And you know the schools that are in Shelby and Jefferson counties. We're talking about all the schools compete, okay? And they compete for all-state. And from the students who compete for all-state, we create an all-district band, which is Jefferson and Shelby counties. And we had 5 students, I think, make the all-district band. Would y'all please stand up? James Trawick, flute, Taylor Jones, trombone, Connor Stanley, euphonium. And then from the district honor band, each district, there's 8 districts in the state of Alabama, gets a certain allotment of students to make all-state. We have 4 all-state bands. We have a middle school all-state band made up of 7th and 8th graders. We have a red, white, and blue band, with the red band being the top band in the state. The top players in the state of Alabama, on through the white is the next, and blue is the next. If you make red, white, or blue band, any of those 3 bands, you're in the top 10% of musicians in the state of Alabama. So we had 3 make all-state. James Trawick, come on up, James, make first chair, white band. Taylor Jones made 3rd chair, red band, which means he's the 3rd secretary. If you were at the concert last night, you can see why. And then David Holliday made 1st chair, red band in the state, the best trumpet player. And you know, not to take anything away from what these guys have accomplished, people say, well, you could go back next week and it'd be different. I don't think it would, because all 3 of these young men play and they have a wonderful work ethic. So, Jefferson County also has an honor band, and we do it's in November, we do a Christmas program, and it involves all music students from kindergarten or 1st grade on up through high school singing, and then the band, an honor band. And we had, I don't make the Jefferson County Honor Band. I think Shade Valley had 28, 29, and we had 23, and that was about 2/3 of the band. That's all I'm saying about it. So, but I have a certificate for you. As I call your name, please come up. Hope Lambert, flute piccolo. Catherine Renda, flute. James Trawick, flute. Beth, we're making this order of applause for all of them, because it's a lot. Beth Coker, clarinet. I'm not going to go through it. Kelsey Dover, clarinet. Taylor Hayes, clarinet. Dwayne Turner, clarinet. Dwayne also plays percussion. He was one of our helicopter pilots last night. Jessica Smith, bass clarinet. Carl Trawick, contrabass clarinet, first chair. Jack Dobbins, alto sax. Jacob Brown, trumpet. Josh Gross, trumpet. David Holliday, trumpet. Quentin Jones, trumpet. Sean Kimball, trumpet. Kyle Beats, trumpet. Caitlin Foote, French horn. Lofton Hall, French horn. Jonathan Hancock, French horn. Taylor Jones, trombone. Matthew Moore Edmonds, trombone. Tyler Gearhart, euphonium. Connor Stanley, euphonium. Let's give all these young people a round of applause. I'd like to now recognize some of our adults who unselfishly give of their time and efforts to maintain and direct our band organization. I'd like to recognize our outgoing officers this year, and I think for the first time, every one of them are outgoing, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Mr. Hickman? It is. I think so. Our secretary, Julia Geyer. Our treasurer, Mr. Scott Hancock, which next year will be the first year there hasn't been a Hancock in the band since the school started. You know, I think I saw a look of relief on Mr. and Ms. Hancock's face. Our second vice chairman in charge of concessions, Roger Edmonds. First Vice President in charge of fundraising, Ms. Debbie Hagan. Last but not least, on finishing out his second year as president, Mr. Bill Kennedy, who's also become I'm good friends with all these people, but Bill has given up 2 years with Hancock, 2 years, Rogers 2 years, but they've really done an outstanding job. Our president, going out, Mr. Bill Kennedy.
Mr. Wallace is a little taller than me. You know, we want to thank all of you parents so much for all you've done over the years. You know, a funny thing happened when we started in 6th grade 7 years ago. We watched our own and each other's kids grow. We became good friends. And as far as every volunteer organization, we want to acknowledge the work involved. Just very briefly, reminds me of the story of a man who lived out in the country. The mailbox was on the far side of the road from his house. He would every day walk out to the end of his driveway, cross the road, open his mailbox, get his mail. Well, one day he went out to the mailbox. He got all the way to the mailbox, opened it up, got the mail, when suddenly, come roaring over the hill is a car, aimed right at him. Tries desperately to get back to his side of the road. The car swerves and is aimed right at him again. So he bolts back towards the mailbox, and the car swerves again. And it's aimed right at him a second or third time. Finally, he heads back towards his house, and the car is almost on top of him. He is frozen with fear. He stops on the center line in the middle of the road and covers his face, thinking this is the end. When the car comes to a screeching, shuddering halt, and the driver leans out the window, and it's a squirrel. And the squirrel says, "Not as easy as it looks, is it?" And, you know, I want to apologize very briefly because for those of you who were at the booster meeting Monday night, you're probably going to hear a lot of this twice. But I just want to remind you, you know, generally when I have the floor, my primary goal is to tell the parents how much I appreciate how hard they've worked and all the energy and effort and hours and money they put into the success of this band. And I'm going to do that again tonight. But I would not be able to look these kids in the eye if I didn't, because this will be the last time I get to address you, to tell you this, to remind you of this. Now, all of you parents, all of you are old enough to remember what used to be a great band program that has frittered away to nothing. This is a great band program, but it can happen here. And it will. Because there are two kinds of people when it comes to voluntary organizations. Those who say, somebody ought to do something. And then there are those who say, I will do something. And all it will take for this great band program to fritter away is for enough of you to say, somebody ought to do something. So at this point, I would like to introduce our new officers for the coming year, because they're going to need all of your help every bit as much as I ever did. Let's see, looking around the room, our Vice President in charge of fundraising, Ms. Vicki Ruffin. Is she here? Vice President in charge of concessions, Ms. Lou Ann Chestnut. Secretary, Ms. Cheryl Joyce. They are all meeting together feverishly right now. Our new treasurer, Mark Duke. Mark. And our new secretary, the wonderful Ms. Rebecca Stanley.
No, president.
So I charge you going forward, be that parent that says, I will do something, and keep your foot on the gas. Rock on. Thank you.
Well, it's kind of weird that it's over. It's been 4 years, and it's gone really fast. We've always had, my freshman year, we had Mr. Brewer. Mr. Wallace has always been there with us. Mr. Williams, these past 3 years, they've just done such a tremendous job, and I'm sure that the rest of the seniors join in with me in saying, thank you for everything that you've done. So we got them a little something.